So today we'll be looking at something called Bhakti Yoga. We'll kind of really dive into the absolute pure definition of what it actually is, so you can kind of be able to integrate it into your life in the most direct way of where it can kind of lead to an awakening experience, or maybe even if not an awakening experience, maybe it can allow you to kind of practice it in the correct way, which will allow you to be free from suffering. And Bhakti Yoga, so I have this book here. It's called the Bhagavad Gita, and this one is the Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And I've never really read the book fully. I read certain direct statements from Krishna in the book. I've done a lot of other types of research, and I've met with a lot of spiritual teachers that have very large followings. And I kind of try to see the bridge between what that actually is. And it appears that the way of how the world today knows as Bhakti Yoga, they think they know what it is. They think they kind of understand it. And the funny thing is, how it's actually being applied is not Bhakti Yoga according to Krishna. So the whole entire Bhagavad Gita is a small little composition that is happening between Krishna and Arjuna on the Mahabharata battlefield. And Krishna is basically trying to, get Arjuna to kind of fight. So he's trying to basically talk him, and the whole process of the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, Krishna is basically enlightening Arjuna on the battlefield. That's the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And one may think, okay, how are you able to get the essence of it if you haven't read the whole entire chapter? It's because what Krishna is saying and what all the spiritual teachers are saying is literally pointing towards the same truth of what they truly are beyond the character. There's a nice word I found in the Bhagavad Gita. They call it personality of Godhead. And Krishna is basically an incarnation of a being, you can call it the super soul or the super consciousness, Lord Vishnu. So there's Vishnu, that is the supreme, perfect one being that everything permeates from. And Krishna is the character, which is the incarnation of that. So what you are is the character, it's not the divine. In Hinduism, they kind of, over the years, they kind of looked at Krishna as the divine, right? Because he's kind of like the perfect incarnation. He's a perfect vessel, basically. So the character has kind of been attuned to allow the consciousness of what you are and what I am to kind of permeate through. So it's the perfect instrument, basically. And the Bhagavad Gita is the song of the divine. So the creator is kind of what you are, and you're not separate from it, is kind of playing the instrument, which is Krishna, playing the instrument, and this beautiful composition of Krishna pointing towards the I amness. If you look into Christianity, Jesus clearly said, I am that I am. And even when Krishna is speaking, he's saying, I am the water, I am the offering, I am the offerer, I am that which is being offered to. So what is the bhakti? The bhakti is talking about is devotion. But where the actual misunderstanding happened, where it's as seeing as everything as kind of Krishna. So devoting themselves to the character. So it's not the character, it's that when he's speaking from that beyond the character. So that is coming through. So that I amness, that's there. So that's the essence of it. But in order to practice bhakti in its full potency and its absolute form, one needs to have a direct experience of what they are. Basically, they have to kind of know it, directly know it. Not everyone will, have an awakening experience in life. So, but you can kind of, strive, and, hopefully one day it does happen to you. And in this direct knowing of the self, the absolute self, and everything is controlled by that self, the ultimate one. Naturally, there's a stepping away of the ego self, the ego mind kind of gets put aside, basically. And it allows that consciousness, that essence beyond the character to kind of be here, present now, and perform its melody, basically. So in yoga, it's referred to as the lotus flower blossoming. There's an analogy when enlightenment or awakening happens, and that awakening is that consciousness, because he does speak that he is there's a certain part in the Gita where he says that he kind of is not in the people, but the people are in that kind of space of the dream world of Maya. And he kind of, the absolute self, kind of can manifest through the character. So that manifestation through the character is the awakening. Because the character is kind of born here and it dies here. And, I might make a longer video on the Bhagavad Gita. We might go through each kind of chapter and really dive into what is he actually saying in each and every single verse, and what is he actually pointing towards. And the problem is, one can only really understand what he actually is saying, or what he's actually really pointing to, is that direct experience, realizing that the creator, the consciousness, the absolute pure awareness that is beyond the creator himself. Basically, we're saying himself, it's not a him, but there's a saying in the tradition there that the God is a person, and that person is the character. So I can kind of see how the mistranslation happened in that. Listen, because to the mind it kind of perceives it in a different way and it grasps it in a different way. So that is why the tradition, they had this thing called parampara. So the parampara is the successful lineage. So only from one enlightened being to another enlightened being, that wisdom and that knowledge can kind of be passed and kind of be taught to everyone. That is, the sacred knowledge that has been passed down. It has to be, that's the qualification basically. So that was definitely lost in the way of how it's actually kind of manifested today. And there's mantra chanting, and it's not a doing. It's not a doing. There's what you truly are. If you are the goal, and Krishna says in one of the lines there, I am the goal, and that I am, which is him, which is referring to as the absolute self, that I, not the character Krishna, but that I is the goal. And that's one of the realizations that comes on the path as one progresses, realizing that I am the goal, I am the focus. It's not outside. It's not something that does not exist outside of me. And to realize that what you seek is within you. It takes it's all controlled by divine will, basically. So if it happens to you, it's kind of meant to happen to you. It's also the path of surrender as well. So if you've been walking on the spiritual path for years, and awakening has not happened, it even that, what I said, can be very alleviating for one, if they come to a sense of acceptance and surrender. That is kind of the surrender. So the bhakti is it can only be fully performed through that way. And Arjuna on the battlefield, Krishna told him, keep your focus, your mind on me, basically. So he's basically saying that the mind is the problem of why we kind of not do what is meant to be done in the world. Is kind of basically showing Arjuna that even in such a chaotic situation like that, there has to be some practicality to it. Yes, he's playing in everything and everyone, but there has to be some practicality to that, because if you throw a pen or any object, you throw it up, it's going to come back down, because the law of gravity, basically. So he's basically telling you this is the law of how the game actually works and how it actually plays. And although I am that which is in functioning in everything and everyone, you still have to play the game. There's no such thing as trying to escape the game. He calls it the divine game of Leela, which is a divine game of play. So that is basically the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. It goes much more deeper, but the essence from what he's actually saying, the message, the key value, the core value, I think it's very misunderstood in the world. Even the people that may follow ISKCON, and there's just that's kind of missing, and I felt the need to kind of put that out and see. But we will do another video where maybe we can kind of dive into these spiritual scriptures and see what are these people really of the past, what they're really talking about, what are they really pointing towards. I think that may have more value, because a lot of people trust the scriptures, and then the problem is there's no direct experience. It's just understanding things through the mind. And this is also another thing which Krishna pointed out as well. If there's no direct experience, there is the identification of the mind and ego self if one cannot see it all the time. And what happens is one functions from that, and he calls it the demonic nature. And that demonic nature is the ego mind. It wants to control and have and understand. And it wants to, basically run the whole show. And that works against the if you can call it the creator, basically. It works against that. So it's in conflict, basically. So that is what it is. And then if you look at the way of how it's kind of being presented, and people kind of, when they read it, and they're reading it from the mind and understanding from the mind, and trying to make sense of what he said between in the dialogue, and trying to interpret it, that itself is coming from the demonic nature. And then performing something called bhakti, from that perspective of that false I, that can be the opposite of what he is saying. But again, like he mentioned, he's playing through all the characters. But irrespective of being, playing through all the characters and all the people, including myself and you that's watching, the game has rules, basically. So yeah,